So this project started when I first read Berserk. I always loved sword and I always loved big sword. I didn't really like the huge dragon slayer, still a cool sword though, but a bit too big for me. As they say, it's really just a huge chunk of iron. So first, I bought all the Berserk. I read them all in honestly the only way. I think the best way with the big one. It's really good quality book. It's really enjoyable like that. And after that, it just escalated really quick. Into 3D printing and a bit of a cosplay. I don't know if you see really well, but yeah, it's almost 7 feet. No, 6 feet tall. Yeah, I wanted to do 7 feet at the beginning, but it was a bit too long. It will almost got to the roof. Now it's time to build a sword. First, I had to use the tool at my disposal. I don't have a forge, and living in an apartment doesn't allow me to have one, so plastic was the easy solution. Every piece you're gonna see was printed on an Ender 3 V2, since that's the printer I currently have. After that, I used Blender to model my design. It was painful, but after a month of design and 3 months of work, I have all of the pieces printed. Now for the fit of each pieces, the tolerance was hard to set, so each piece needed a bit of sanding, but you can see that the result isn't half bad. Everything fit together quite nicely. Of course, if I would have been better at Blender or with my printer, well, I could have skipped a lot of sanding. Now the part obviously need to be locked together, so I use a cheap soldering iron and some scrap PLA filament that I had. It was a long process, maybe 4 hours of soldering plastic. Little disclaimer, it smells bad and you should wear a mask if you do this, or at least be in a well ventilated room. I would also say that in this video you won't see me go in deep detail of that technique, but you really need to go deep in the plastic and put a lot of plastic in it, or each part could move and the bone could be break, especially with a sword like that is really long. Gravity doesn't work and you could really fuck it up if you don't solder a lot like I just did. You can see that just not really solder. You will need to plunge that soldering iron deep into it, and after that melt a lot of plastic manually. To reinforce the plastic, I use a 4 feet long and a 3/4 of circumference wood dowel. I could have gone for a metal one, but I figured that with this size, the sword will be already heavy enough, and I didn't wanted too much of a heavy sword. I didn't really knew why I was doing the sword, more that I wanted to do it, but I knew if it ended up on a wall, I didn't wanted an heavy sword that I couldn't do nothing with. Now I didn't know how to finish a 3D print, so I thought that a paint filler would be a good idea with a spray paint can. It wasn't at all. The printing mark were still there and the soldering mark were really ugly. So I hand sand the sword and use an orbital sanding when I could. An electric sander usually eat the plastic too much and ruin it, so don't use it with a lot of care if you do something like that. Once everything was sanded, the solution that I found online was to hide the mark with wood filler. It's stuck on the PLA and you can sand it after. I also learned that you can use acetone with it to make a paste that can be easily applied. It can also be applied with a brush, so it would have been way better for my use. But since I already spray painted the plastic, I was scared that the acetone will mix with the residue of paint and ruin the sword. I had to applied wood filler, sand, hope it would look good when painting, and do that again and again until I finally had an okay result. You can see right there is some mark that appears, so I tried to, well, I would say I tried really to patch some hole, but it was really a long process. And now the sword is complete. I lost some of my footage unfortunately, but for the rest it's simple. I spray paint the metallic pattern, I painted the dark crease, and I dry brush the guard. The handle is simply old tissue wrapped around the plastic and hot glued on the sword. Let me know if you love the sword, and should I hang it on the wall with the Berserk logo maybe? Follow for more, and please subscribe and like. Thank you.